This is, once again, BYOB podcast, very small YouTube channel. It's got 2.5 subs, 2.5 thousand subs. And this video specifically was posted November 10th, 2021. So Toiletgate happened the end of March 2021. So then this came out April, May, June. So, okay, 6 months later. So maybe she did hold it the whole time. So we'll see. So that's around the time. So this is post Toiletgate. But I don't know when they recorded it. But again, it's called Rachel Hollis on the Importance of Authenticity and Growth with Blake and Jacob Morgan. And I think her name's Blake. I think the woman's name is Blake. Is introing it at the top. It piqued my interest. I'll say that, the intro. So here we go. Rachie Holly, here we go.
Hey everybody, it's Blake Morgan, co-host of the Be Your Own Boss podcast. I'm going to take you back to March of 2021. Jacob and I are in Washington because we decided we want to leave the Bay Area, and where should we move? And I'm on a treadmill in a hotel, and I'm listening to the Rachel Hollis podcast, and she gives me a shout out. She said, I think it was Women's History Month, she was recognized in my article as a top female leader, and a couple weeks later, she's on my show being interviewed, and I was so excited about it until a few days later when I started releasing promos for the Be Your Own Boss interview with Rachel, and I started getting attacked. And it was kind of scary because Rachel was being attacked and canceled, I should say, because she said something shouldn't have said. And she said that. She shouldn't have said it. She released that on TikTok. And so we decided to postpone the release of the interview. And I'm just releasing it now, like 7 months later. And in that time,
Okay, I couldn't remember if it was 7 weeks or 7 months. So it seems like... Yeah, it seems like this was recorded right around that time. So I'm intrigued now to see the attitude. And, it's, I don't know. Let's just keep listening. I'll hold my comments.
I attended Rachel's Rise event. I attended a VIP dinner with about 16 people. And I would say out of all the experiences I had at the Rise event, that one was the most emotional. Jarring. 16 people sat around a table at a dinner, and they all shared why they were there at the Rise event. And it seems like people seek Rachel's content when they are at a crossroads. Her famous book that sold 5 million copies is Girl Wash Your Face. And it's kind of like the message of the book is like, get out of your own head. We'll talk more about Rachel's theories and strategies later in the interview. But people clearly seek out Rachel and her content when they are lost in this world. And people...
Yeah, no shit. And I think this is exactly the point that everyone that makes content against Rachel and against self-help and against personal development and the problems that it creates is exactly what she's describing. But I think this person misses the point. People who are vulnerable, the most vulnerable, are deeply attracted to this type of content. I'm vulnerable all the time because I'm, troubled. But when I was really, really troubled, that's when I was seeking this stuff out the most. And it did lead me down paths where I was blowing money for no reason. I was making choices very haphazardly, following my intuition based on fucking nothing, and listening to these people saying like, if you believe in yourself, you'll pay the money for that coach. If you believe in yourself, you'll lose the weight. Like all this stuff to basically just, again, put the responsibility on yourself to fix yourself with basically no one's help except for them or a coach that they, somehow approve or are employed in some way. But really the onus is on you to bootstrap your life and get in gear, girlfriend, sister. And yeah, that's why it's a big problem. It's not like they're targeting millionaires who can, lose the money and not worry about it, or already successful. They're targeting people who are depressed, anxious, feeling lost. And that's why it's a bigger issue, I think, than any other business. Same thing with MLMs. They take people and they try to target people. If you're a stay-at-home mom and lonely, they'll use that to try to get money out of you. That's why it's a problem. Anyways, okay.
Well, at the dinner, shared stories of getting divorced. Maybe their husband cheated, changing careers. One woman in particular had alcoholism, and she was sitting there drinking and crying and talking to Rachel about, I'm not going to lie, it sounded like a freight train, talking to Rachel about where everything going wrong in her life. And it was really uncomfortable. Like, I felt like, this is a little too much for me for a dinner, a networking dinner. I can't, yeah. And Rachel just sat there and listened to her and gave her advice and maybe changed that woman's life. I walked away from the event.
Okay, 2 red flags there. And I see Soko Lashes is here. Welcome. Yes, I would love to hear your insider insights on this. I'm going to go back and find all your comments. But is this true? Is what she's saying true? Okay, first of all, the woman that is coming to this event, all right, it's supposed to be an entrepreneurial thing, but of course we know the real thing that happens at these live events is it becomes this emotional thing a lot of times. Like they bill it as like, come be an entrepreneur boss babe. But then when you're actually there, it's all about, does your sister believe in you? What's your trauma? Who do you love more, your mom or your dad? Like, that's the type of stuff they end up talking about. They sell it as this like legitimate, course. And then you get there, it's all about emotional manipulation. And so the woman there at the dinner or whatever, she's claiming to be an alcoholic and is drinking. Okay, that's a sort of a red flag. And what does Rachel Hollis fucking know about addiction or anything? Rachel Hollis is also an acclaimed alcoholic and continues to drink. So that's probably the worst person to ask advice about this. And that person should be guided. If Rachel Hollis and her team were an ethical organization, now maybe they did do this and I'm not there, so I don't know. But I think in these situations, if you're an ethical entrepreneur, you should say, Leslie or whatever her name is, Ashley, Barbara, whatever. I think these are something, we're here to talk about business. We're here to talk about, raising each other up. I think you should see a therapist. Therapists help me so much. And, good luck to you. But, we got to stay on topic here. Like hearing someone cry and scream about their alcoholism, what good is that going to do in that environment? All it's going to do is like trauma bond you together, I guess. I don't know. I just find it to be, take that to a mental health professional. That's my advice.
Really impressed with, I guess, how disciplined Rachel is and how hardworking, and realizing that, like that intensity of somebody like thinking you will change their life and approaching you, and total strangers like showing you their wounds and saying, fix me, help me. That's Rachel's life. She also faces huge criticism, not from being famous and being recognized, but she also faces huge criticism for what she's done and things she said or not said, or even getting divorced. It's a tough spot, and
it is a tough spot, but that's what she chose to do, and she's become a millionaire from doing it, so I don't have that much fucking sympathy. Sorry.
Outsider. I'm not really in the self-development space, just have this Be Your Own Boss podcast with Jacob, but I mean, I'm a B2B book author. I don't compete in her space. I don't write self-development books. It's a tough space to be in. You put yourself up for scrutiny. And these days, I mean, cancel culture is a real thing. And if you say the wrong thing, you're done. No one wants to allow you.
You're done. As Rachel Hollis just has a live tour, has just gotten a Sirius XM radio deal. Tell me again how cancel culture is real. It's a real thing. People getting backlash and criticism, that's not the same thing as her losing like her entire livelihood. No one put her in jail. No one cut her off from entrepreneurial activities. No one blocked her from getting a career somewhere else. Like, people have been critical, yes, and deservedly so, I believe.
You to talk, because if you talk, then you're going to get a million Instagram comments. People are so hard on women too. And we tell women, and we'll talk about this in the interview, you don't have to be perfect. Perfectionism is an illusion. Take risks. Women need to be strong. And women need to not apologize, but then we like destroy them when they ultimately mess up, because we're all human and we all say the wrong thing. And sometimes we say it more than once.
Humans.
I feel that for someone like Rachel that's uplifting women and trying to make an impact, I'm not a fan of this cancel culture.
Okay, cool. Can you hear that? Wait, did you hear that? What I said?
Human.
It's working. I don't know what I did. Okay, you heard that, right? Humans. I don't. If Rachel was, a $0 making nonprofit leader who only wanted to raise awareness about women empowerment, and she did not profit that much, and she did not, charge $1,200 for marriage retreats or L retreat and business, whatever, coaching and all this stuff. The fairness is that she entered the market. She came with her product because she decided her life story was her product. That is what she chose to do. She could sell candles if she wanted. She chose not to. She wants to be the star. She wants to tell everyone all of her thoughts. Cool. I get that. I also understand the need and the desire. And I think it's narcissistic of me also to want to go and tell everyone my thoughts. There is an element of that. But it's I don't like it because she's trying. Everyone tries. Everyone is facing critique, whether it's from a boss, whether it's from anything. None of us signed up to be here. We were born into this earth and we're all just trying to make it work. I don't think just because, she's trying, that she doesn't deserve it. And she's a woman with children. We can't criticize those people. How is that fair? It's not. And it's just, I hate this. This is what the woman did in the Skinny Confidential podcast. It was defend Rachel because she's a woman. That's exactly what's holding women back, in my opinion. Empowering women is about standing up as, an entrepreneur that happens to be a woman or that is a woman and is proud of it. Great. But then when something bad happens, you can't fall back on, but I have 4 children. So, I had to lay off everybody so no one should get mad at me because I got 4 children at home. Who gives a fuck? We got to be equal, everybody. Okay, sorry, I'm done.
I think we have to stop being so hard on women. I don't really want to read any more New York Times articles or YouTube videos about somebody like Rachel and how she's, what's the point of all this stuff? It's just live and let live, guys.
Raising awareness. And also, second rant of this 2-second clip. She's basically, cancel culture is bad. We need to stop criticizing women. Okay, the woman she's about to talk about here, about making a YouTube video, it's not me. I think it's Cat, I'm assuming. That's a woman too. So why don't you lay off criticizing her for making a cancel culture video and support that woman? It doesn't work. The second you start to think about what they're claiming, you can't be mad at Rachel, but I'm going to be mad at the woman who made the video about Rachel because that's fair.
That's my worldview. Rachel is a mom with 4 kids. She is making an impact as one of the top thought leaders in the self-development space. She's written 9 books. And she is putting her life on display for all to see, and that's a tough spot to be in. Any of you watching or listening, I think, would leap at the chance to meet her or interview her. And that's actually something I heard after I watched a 30 to 40 minute, I won't call it an expose, but it was a whole YouTube video about why their issue with her. And at the end, they said, I think if she exposed her process and if she told us how she does what she does, people would like her more. I thought, that's really not fair. I feel like her whole thing is about exposing the process. And, it's kind of you're damned if you... In fact, this is a Sophia Amoruso thing she wrote on Instagram and LinkedIn about being canceled. Basically, the theme of her thing, girl boss, Sophia Amoruso, was if you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, so you might as well frickin' just do it. And
yeah. If
you're attacked by internet trolls, they're not going to kill you.
Yeah.
So get thicker skin and keep going. That's the message I would want my daughter to hear is
okay, so then why are we I hate cancel culture if that's what it is? you're going to get, beaten down by internet trolls no matter what. So you might as well do what you want to do. Okay, great message. I also need to get better at that. That's something that I think is a practicable principle to do. Okay, so why is there now but I hate cancel culture? It's like, it sounds like you're okay with it. I don't know. It's weird.
Who cares? Who cares what people say? Just keep doing your thing because Rachel is helping people. I've seen it. But it's a persona. She's a businesswoman. Can we accept that? And can we allow her to do that? Those are my thoughts.
Okay, she's so authentic, but it's a persona. That's what I was confused about. I'm like, wait, what? So that's the part I stopped at. This is now going to be I'm going to watch it for the first time with y'all.
Let's get to the interview with the woman you want to hear from, Rachel Hollis. She's the author of 9 books. She produces events. She is one of the most popular podcasts in the world. She's a mom of 4. She's a badass. Let's get to the interview.
Oh Lord. I'm skipping the song because heaven forbid they're going to take the entire Manatee Fund and shove it down the toilet because the copyrighted song of 2 seconds. Okay, I'm just kidding. The money goes there no matter what.
Welcome to the Be Your Own Boss podcast. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. I am doing so great. I will be honest and tell you, I'm going on vacation next week. So everything this week feels like this big buildup to getting to go away on a trip with my girlfriends.
That is so awesome. Yeah, it's nice that now we can travel and feel a little less stressed out. My husband and I went to Washington.
Oh, okay. So now it says this was recorded March 2021. Okay, what date? Because she was in the same location when she talked to Kathy Heller. Remember that one? If you watched that stream where she basically was talking about her sweet cleaning woman. So I'm assuming this is pre-Toiletgate as well, because Toiletgate happened at March 31st, I believe. I have my timeline pulled up. It says late March, early April. And because she put the first Toiletgate apology came April 4th, and the final apology came April 5th. So this has got to be before it all happened. That's why they held it for 7 months. Okay, so that makes sense. All right, here we go.
Last week, and I think we were the only ones on the plane that had masks and shields, and I felt like a huge dork and realized
I think you take all the precautions, honestly, and our friend group we're all fully vaccinated now. So this is our first trip since COVID and everything happened, and we have an Airbnb. We're still saying socially distance and playing it safe and whatever, but it feels like safe enough to try.
Are you going to go in a freezing body of water with a full moon though?
No, I am not going to do that. I don't do that unless I am forced to. We are going to Hawaii where it will be warm. And even then I will not get in the water because I don't like getting into water.
Wait a minute. What? Why? Water is so soothing. Okay, that's fine.
That's the only hippie.
Whatever you're doing.
We'll have an offline. We'll talk about it. It's the whole thing.
All right. So I know a weird amount about your personal life. Like a lot of the people watching, I know what you probably had for breakfast. You taught me to do bronzer on my forehead. And I was thinking 2 things that I did this morning. You taught me. I also took basil leaf supplement.
Mm-hmm. Holy basil leaf. Yes. It's so important.
Yes. So, your whole audience, you let us in. So
see, this is a problem. It's like, I do what you do. You take a supplement, I take a supplement. It's like, this is exactly what the risks are when you start fucking saying stuff and go, whatever. People can make their own choices. Yeah, that's true. But you have to also realize that people are going to take your advice because they put you on a pedestal, because that's how our society is. That anyone with a big platform with money is pedestaled immediately. And okay, well, whatever supplements you take, I'm going to take. And then meanwhile, you find out that you're like, oh, what's your skin routine? And it's like, oh, I just do a little Johnson's baby powder. And reality, they're getting Botox and surgery. They don't tell you that part, but okay, whatever. Off topic. Sorry.
So much. I mean, are there ever moments where you just feel like you wish for a moment you had an ounce more privacy, or people at the airport didn't know like what was in your shake that morning?
I think that what's interesting is that I do really share a lot about my life, and I think people have the perception that I'm sharing everything. So I do hold a lot of things very private and very close to me. And what I'm sharing in social or in my work or on the podcast is really just things that I think might be helpful to y'all. So I'm sharing what's in my smoothie because I'm like, oh, maybe some other mama is
Mama.
wanting to find something quick and easy and nutritious in the
Mama.
morning, and she would like.
Okay, but that's sort of a new. I mean, that's always obvious. That's with everyone. That's like, I'm the most authentic person out there, and authenticity is my brand. Honesty is my brand. Okay, that's what they all say. Like, there's a certain brand of self-help influencer that continually repeats that message over and over again. But the reality is, you know that they're holding stuff back. There's no fucking way. I'm sorry, I'm cursing a lot today. My bad, excuse me. There's no freaking way that they're telling you everything. Obviously, like, you know, they're like, oh, my marriage to my husband is wonderful. And then they get divorced. I mean, this story has been told a million times. Jen Hatmaker, similar. Now, okay, there's been infidelity in that relationship. But I think a lot of things in her life as well that she shares is the good stuff, the sellable stuff, the stuff that, you know, gets you a kickback in some way. But then don't call this authenticity. That's not what authentic means to me. Picking and choosing what a relatable, embarrassing stories to share. I'm expecting it all, baby. Sorry, that's what I want when it's authentic. If I'm dating somebody and they say, I'm authentic, and then they have a wife and child somewhere else, like, well, I told you what you wanted to hear, what was helpful to you. It's like, that's not authenticity, sir.
To know what's in my thing. But when everything first started to explode, like in a crazy way, and at the beginning of 2018, it was very overwhelming to deal with all of a sudden people knowing you and coming up to you. And I spent about 9 months trying to grapple with what that meant. And I honestly feel very used to it now, because I don't think it's possible for me to do this work with my community and with these women and to do these things if I'm not actually in community with them. So
What does that mean?
yeah, I've taught myself to normalize, you know, the stranger coming up and being like, it feels pretty normal now.
She said she hated it.
I didn't want to bring this into the interview, but I'm going to now that you said that I watched this documentary about Dolly Parton. And when she really started to get famous, and she went to a wedding of someone she worked with, and there was like a line of 40 people that wanted to hug her and take a picture with her. And it does seem like a pretty big sacrifice to lose that anonymity, but it seems like for you, you feel like you're doing an act of service and you're always in that role of serving.
Well, I think it also helps that I'm an extrovert. So I genuinely love people. Like, even if I didn't do this work, I'd still.
Wait, didn't she say she was an introvert? Or am I getting that wrong? Didn't she say, like, I'm the biggest introvert there's ever been? Now she's like, I'm an extrovert. Maybe I'm forgetting. That's too much information. But again, back to the Skinny Confidential podcast, which is like, I don't know when she did that. It was like not that long ago. And she basically said, people put this on me that I wanted to help women. I just did it because everyone wanted me to do it. And this guy told me to not take my foot off the gas. So I listened, and I'm stupid. And all I want to do is be with my bra off and have dinner with my kids. And that's all I want. But now, of course, going back in time, this is a different thing. I got used to people coming up to me at the supermarket. No big deal. I love it. I'm a service entrepreneur. It's like, okay, so again, when it serves you, you come up with one narrative. When the other narrative serves you, you tell that story. That's the key here. I'm just pointing it out that, of course, we already know she's full of shit. All of these people are full of shit. But I think it's good to remind ourselves, like, oh, okay, this woman's leading her down a path and she's going to take it.
We'd be at the grocery store in line, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, where'd you get your shoes? Your baby's so cute. Like, that's just my personality. So I think that if I was an introvert, it would probably be a lot harder. But if anything, I feel in the last year, I've missed the chance to get to connect with people so much. Like, you know, having to be socially distanced and not being able to like go up to you and like tell you that your baby's beautiful or ask you how your day's going has been really hard. So, yeah, I think I'm sort of wired to do this thing that I do.
Yeah, I've heard only that she's been not nice to people one-on-one, or like if you go up to her, she's like annoyed. And she said she doesn't, she wants to have her privacy, and I respect that and understand that. But this is I never really heard her talk about how much she loves talking to people. This is sort of a new narrative for me.
Yeah, and that is clear with your Rise event and Made for More documentary. The energy you bring to the stage, and I mean, having to teach for 4 to 8 hours, it is really, really draining. I'm introverted. I'm also a speaker. So for me, I think it doesn't come as naturally as it does for you. I actually find what you do so interesting in that you're able to stay so loose and fluid and emotionally fluid despite always having, people judging you basically. Do you think at your events, you're really in your element, and that's really your calling, is speaking to large groups of women? And to me, it also kind of seems almost like a religious experience.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because I grew up in the church. My dad was a pastor and my granddad was a pastor. And so I grew up in the Christian faith where someone would teach on stage. And because I grew up in the Pentecostal denomination of Christianity, it was very like storytelling and, like it was big energy. So that's just what I knew. And I'm sure that if I had grown up in a different way, I would have a different.
And I saw how well it worked when you have no credentials. You can just tell a good story and people will give you their money. I learned young from my experiences in the church.
Style of teaching. But I think that combined with the fact that I grew up doing theater is really why I can be on the stage and feel so comfortable there. Because I think when you grow up doing theater, you have to be prepared for anything to happen and you have to be able to handle it and kind of roll with it. And honestly, what you're seeing is decades of work to get to the place where that feels maybe as comfortable, or it looks as comfortable as it feels, or vice versa, because God knows when I started out, it was.
Rachel, you're like 39. You've only been alive less than 4 decades.
That was not the case.
Yeah, and I like, Rachel, how you say that you keep all your old content up, your old interviews, your old speeches where you're using note cards, because you want to teach, you want to show women that where you came from, that it's okay to be flawed or stumble. And I think that's you're so brave.
No, shut up. Shut up. Sorry, I know I'm being mean to this person who doesn't necessarily deserve it, but it's like, every podcast host is just like kissing ass. I just hate it. This is the only type, like Rachel, I think is smart and she does her research, I think, in the sense of who she's going to talk to on a podcast, because every podcast that she does that's not her own kisses her ass so hard. It's like, how did you grow up to be so gosh darn relatable and daggum cute, and look at your hair, and oh my goodness, how could anyone hate you? It's like, I've learned nothing. Again, like, what is the point of this? Just like a free commercial to talk about how great she is. Like, she knows that's the type of stuff she's going to participate in. She won't go to anything critical.
I mean, thank you. But I wish that wasn't brave. I wish that was just normal. I wish that we didn't live in a society that demands that women, are perfect at all times and have it all together and have all of the answers. I wish that we lived in a place.
I wish that I was the only one that, could write books about having all the answers. I wish that everyone had all the answers, but because we don't live in that society, I am the one with the answers. That's what I meant to say.
That celebrated that sort of messy middle ground better, because I think that if we celebrated that more, then people wouldn't feel so afraid to try.
Absolutely. I have been studying feminism for a really long time. Since I was a little girl, my mom took me to the National Organization for Women conference, I think for some reason when I was like 6. And I've always been interested in women who speak out. I really have been studying you for a while. I do feel like you are a feminist leader, even if people might not call you that. Just in everything you talk about, I'm curious. I've heard you. I've seen.
Are you fucking insane, lady? A feminist leader? Come on. My husband makes all the decisions for us. He does the business. My husband is the CEO. Okay, feminist leader, got it.
I've seen you write about feminism once in one of your books, but do you see yourself as a feminist leader? What does that mean to you?
1,000,000%. I mean, I definitely see myself as a feminist. I am a feminist, and I definitely see myself as a leader. I've never really put those two together, but I hope that we're sort of redefining.
Define feminism, please. Define feminism, because you had your employees dress like you're going to brunch to impress me at my job where I am the boss and supreme leader. And if you're going to work for me, you have to work for me for 1 year and there's no exceptions. And if you're hired, at one level, you cannot jump levels. Okay, that's very feminist leader. Oh my God. I can't. Define what feminism means to you, Rachel, please.
What that means. Meaning, I think that there's sort of a stereotype that existed for a really long time that a feminist was a very specific kind of woman. And so my gut is that maybe people see me with like big hair and nails and lashes and whatever, and have a certain belief about who that makes me. And I am the most liberal, the most girl power, the most like, fuck this patriarchy. I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss. Sorry, you can bleep that out. I really want us to be allowed as women to just be whoever we are. I think that that's what's so damaging about this culture, is that there are sort of these buckets that we're meant to fit inside of. And if you don't perfectly fit inside of the bucket, then somehow there's something wrong with you. And it's wild to me how much I can upset social media or the masses by saying something that to me feels so obvious and usually is grounded in what I believe is my right to exist, to have an opinion, to be a working mom, to get divorced, to like any of these things that people said, no, this is your bucket. Like, we decided you were this person. And then any move that I make to kind of step outside of that gets a lot of pushback, which is so wild to me.
I honestly think there's a different group of people who I don't associate with that give her criticism that I'm not familiar with. I know there's a lot of, and I don't know for sure, but the way she talks, it feels like there's a group of Christian women who really, really loved her and then instantly turned on her when she started to transition and got a divorce and stuff. Because I have no problem with her, once again, for getting a divorce. I could care less if she gets a divorce. And no one, I don't think that I know, cares about divorce. 50% of all marriages end that way, right? So, but I think what I'm offended about is that she propped up her marriage as if it was this amazing thing that should be emulated by her customers. That's my issue. So I don't know if there's another group of people who criticize her about the sanctity of vows and marriage and that was their big hang up, or if she's totally lying and knows what the real issue is and just decides to like straw man argument in it and say, well, I'm a feminist because I got a divorce and people just can't handle that. It's like, what are you talking about? But maybe there is a group that's like, super harsh. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt, but I don't know if I doubt it, honestly.
Yeah. I was watching your documentary Made for More with my husband, and we saw the part where you asked, first of all, this stand up for your sister. That's an incredible exercise where you have women standing up for each other, literally. And if people are interested, they should go watch the documentary on Amazon. But one of the questions,
someone told me that she took that from someone else that was like doing lectures in a university or something, that was like stand up for your colleague. It was not something that Rachel Hollis created. Now, I don't know that for sure. Someone told me that, but I would not be surprised. I'm more surprised if Rachel Hollis came up with that concept of, okay, here's an exercise we can do, because literally everything else she does is copied from someone else, from some other influencer.
Questions you asked was basically something to the effect of, do you like the way you look? Or it became clear that all the women in the room basically hated the way they
Yes.
looked. And
Yes.
this is a common story for women, you know, with self-esteem. Like, what did that moment mean to you when you're on stage, 500 women in the room say they hate the way they look? Like, what does that mean to you?
Nothing.
I remember very specifically.
It means I'm going to write a book about body image very soon to capitalize off of it immediately.
That moment and sort of processing it after I got off stage and just thinking, we've got to do better. And I was like, I do not know what the answer to this is, but by God, I'm going to try and find out. And we have devoted so much time and intentionality and
Rachel, your book, Girl Wash Your Face, is about how Pam, this woman at your office or at an office, hypothetical Pam, can't be trusted as a friend because she can't stick to a diet. You also wrote in that book that you don't break commitments to yourself. So after a night of having fun with friends and drinking and eating, you decide to go on the treadmill because you care about your body image so much. It's like, you're part of the problem. It's reading books like that get people really like, oh shit, I gotta lose weight. I gotta get my lashes. I gotta get my extensions. I gotta get better. Because look at Rachel. Look at how happy she is. Look at how happy her husband is and how great they are together. I need to get my act together. That's where it comes from. People like you.
Resources in the last, like, since that moment to try and speaking into this idea that health should be about the way we feel, not about the way we look, that you should celebrate your body. You should love the fact that you have this body to begin with. There's such a, so many warped cultures depending on where you grew up about what you're supposed to look like or what you're supposed to have. So interesting. I started working out with a trainer, like, I don't know, 4 months ago or something, virtually. And he's a trainer in LA and he trains celebrities. And so he's training these women who have the most beautiful bodies in the world. And our very first call, he said, so tell me, what is it you're here for? What do you want? And I'm like, oh, I really want to get stronger. Kind of want to shake up what I'm doing. I'm feeling a little bored.
I'm not like other girls that want to be thin. I just want to be strong. Give me a break. I don't want to be skinny. Okay, Rachel, whatever.
But ultimately, I freaking love my body. Like, I just want to make it stronger. And he didn't speak for a minute. He was like, what'd you just say? I said, oh, I mean, I love my body. I just want it to be stronger. And he's been a trainer for a while. He's like, in 35 years, I have never had a woman ever say to me that she loved her body.
Am I the only one that loves my body? Am I the only woman in 30 years that has ever loved their body? Rachel.
Am I the only hippie?
She really thinks the world of herself. That self-esteem, it can't be bought nor sold. It really comes from deep inside somewhere, and I envy it in a lot of ways. I wish I could love myself that much, where it's like you really truly believe the bullshit that you're spewing about yourself. Man, admirable.
And I was like, what is going on? I mean, I'm raising a daughter and 3 sons, but I'm raising a daughter, and it's like, if we don't figure this stuff out in ourselves, we're going to give it to the next generation.
Yes.
So we spent a lot of time trying to get answers to that and really speak into it over and over and over, and hopefully shift that narrative.
Yeah, I think about my own mother, who very kind of meek as a young woman, and then me, I'm kind of a beast. I like to think of myself as a beast, but I have a daughter, and her name's Naomi.
You don't present that way. Just say you don't have the presentation of a beast, but okay, whatever you say. Rachel doesn't have the presentation of someone who loves their body either, so. Okay.
My son is Noah, by the way, but nice. I want her to be just fierce and a beast, but I know she's already so fixated on her looks, and she will only wear a dress, and I'm so scared for her.
Yeah. It's wild how much once they get out in the world, once they get into school, once they get into friend groups, and how much that shifts the stuff that you're teaching at home. But I honestly just feel like it's about us practicing what we're preaching. It's about us leading out in that way. And hopefully that's something that they absorb by osmosis, because we have to change this. I have at Rise Conference, when we were allowed to have conferences in person, we would have mamas who'd bring 12-year-old girls, 14-year-old girls. And it is so incredible to watch them go through those 3 days that are really designed for a grown woman, and the shift that you can see happen. Like if you talk to a young woman on day 1 versus day 3, like how you've busted everything wide open. And I just think for those of us who are grown-ups, if we had that as teenage girls.
What does that mean? Again, like, I know this is just her talking off the dome, but like, on day 1 through day 3, it just busts open. Like, what does that mean in practical terms? What am I coming away with on day 3 as a 14-year-old girl that's going to help society at large? Like the way they talk about it, life-changing, altering activities. Like, what does it mean? I never hear this woman left on day 3 and then she started McDonald's, like I never hear that. I never hear, this woman went back to school and whatever. Like I don't hear practical like testimonials. It's always like, oh, this like airy fairy, like it was amazing and I just did my life force expanded. Like nothing, that doesn't mean anything to me. I don't know if I'm too literal of a thinker, but like I'm like I don't know what you're talking about. But it works. It's a good sales tactic. Keep it vague so people pay to find out, I guess.
Where would we be right now?
Yeah, well, it sounds like you didn't really have that, but it's interesting to look at your trajectory because, I mean, you took a very challenging situation and you're taking it to the moon.
Yeah, I mean, I think that
Are you going to ask her a question, Blake? Or are you just going to kiss her ass? Sorry.
I just keep sort of stepping into like, what does this mean? Why did I walk through the things that I've walked through, and how can I take a lesson outside? Like, how can I pull a lesson through those for myself and then maybe give it to other people? My greatest core value in my life is growth. It's funny. I was, a couple of weeks ago, I was crying. Literally, my kids were with their dad. I was sitting on my kitchen floor crying, eating a cookie. I was having a bad day. I was PMSing and I was upset about something that felt really hard. And I was just like, why does everything have to be a lesson? Why does everything have to teach me? Like, couldn't I just have a week where I don't have to learn anything or
you do this to yourself,
do anything, and I could just like be? And I was journaling. I journal every day. I was journaling the next morning.
Thank you.
And I was journaling about core values and writing out like, oh, my core value has been for a decade growth. And I was like, Rachel, you're over here crying in the floor, eating a cookie about how painful it is to go through change, but also your greatest value is growth. And growth is not possible unless you're uncomfortable. So you can either be okay with the fact that you're going to have to continue to learn these lessons, or you're going to have to choose a different focus for your life. But if you want to keep evolving, evolution is uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's nice to hear that even you, where we all watching, just think that you are perfect, that you have no pain, that you're not eating one of your podcasts. You were talking about eating your whole frozen pizza. And I like that.
Yes.
It wasn't just a
so
piece.
Good.
It was like,
No,
you're like,
I ate the whole thing.
Am I the only person who eats pizza? I don't believe that for a second also that she ate a whole pizza. Give me a break. No. Okay. That is also, I think, part of the relatability. The, what's her name? Jennifer, the actress. Not Garner. That's what I want to say. Jennifer Lawrence. I just eat hot dogs all day long. Oh, I just love a good pizza. I just eat pizza all day. It's like, no, you don't. No, you don't. You have like the, Hollywood perfection body. It's just an act, I think, to be like, oh, I like beer and pizza. It's like, ugh. Those people are worse to me. It's like, I prefer, honestly, this is just my own personal take. This is not like a advice column, but the people who say like, you know what, I got a tummy tuck because I didn't like that I gained weight during my pregnancy or whatever. I can appreciate that so much more than someone saying like, oh no, I just naturally lost it. I don't care about body image at all. And then like you're suspicious because you're like, oh, it looks like you did, but okay, I guess like you're just naturally better than everyone else. It's just like, I don't like the, oh yeah, like, I just told my trainer that I just want to be strong. It's like, it's okay to want vanity. It's okay, but I hate when it's lied about. And then also you're sort of shaming other people for doing it too. It's like, it's part of human nature. Yeah, we all want to be attractive in some way, I think. And I think that's okay. I think if you don't want to put the effort in, that's also okay. But if you want to go that path, just be honest about it so everyone knows where we fit in. Like if someone has a full face of makeup, and they go, oh yeah, this took me 2 seconds, no big deal. I'm gonna feel shitty about myself because I'm like, oh, I could have taken 2 seconds and looked that good too. I'd rather know if it took an hour. So I'm like, oh, I don't want to do an hour, but I'm glad that you do. Everyone has different, values. Anyways, perfect, Rachel. Okay, back.
Yeah.
I hate the whole thing.
I think that might have been the episode about your venture into online celebrity dating. I can't remember.
Right.
All your podcasts
which was
are
also
floating.
I'm not even lying, is also why I was sitting on the floor eating a cookie, because I'm 38. I've been in one relationship in my entire life. I was with my ex-husband for 18 years and I have no idea what I'm doing. And so then it feels very uncomfortable and I'm like, oh, I don't know this feels like a game I don't know how to play, and that makes me uncomfortable. So that was literally why I was crying and eating.
She's crying about boothing on the floor. Uh-oh.
Boothing. This situation is a red flag.
Another red flag. She's never gonna let this guy go, no matter what. There's been so many red flags. Every single story she tells about her boyfriend, her boothing, it's a red flag for me. Every single time, including this one. Why are you crying about it? When your children are gone, your husband's gone, you're alone for 1 second, and you're crying about your new boyfriend. Red flag. Go date someone else or date no one.
A cookie. It was a very, very human experience.
Yeah, I definitely can see you taking the high road from over here where I am in my house. I'm like, she's taking the high road. Good for her. She's so positive. She's doing this well. Talking about pain and growth, I've heard you say a few times that you recommend people speak from a scar, not a wound. And as a mom, I just gave birth like 10 months ago. So that's a very like raw experience and you feel so vulnerable. And sometimes I think I'm ready to talk about something and I realize like, oh no, you're not ready.
Yeah.
But and you've talked about postpartum depression. That actually really hit me in the gut one day was, I think at one of your podcasts where you were talking just how stressed and anxious you were after you had your son, because I felt such anxiety and stress and sometimes depression after having my son. And I just felt like, oh, okay, even Rachel Hollis went through this shit on the other side.
Yes.
So talk about speaking from a scar, not a wound. Let's start.
Rachel Hollis, her wounds heal in 25 seconds. Her wounds are scarred up and she's ready to go. She talked about, dating or being single and how great it is being single after being single for like 6 months. And she was already dating someone else or dating Kez already by that point. She did a podcast about being single. Give me a break. She's already doing stuff about, how to recover from your divorce. So she's been divorced, 2 years? She was making those podcasts a year ago. Like I don't know what a scar means to Rachel. She tells everything immediately. Like the second it happened, she's like, okay guys, yesterday I thought that, Christianity was the way, but today, no, it's all about Marianne Williamson or whatever, or that other crazy one. Your toe fungus means that you have a secret lady. I forget her name and I don't care.
There.
Yeah, so I don't know where that quote came from. I actually quoted it in the last book and we couldn't find the original source, but essentially the idea is that...
So I just put my name on it.
If you're going to teach people, you want to teach things that aren't causing you pain anymore. Because I think it's a really dangerous fine line to walk as a teacher, as a writer, as a communicator, to be trying to help others to your own detriment. And so I think that it's wise to talk about or teach those pieces of yourself that have long healed over and that you can kind of mine for information and wisdom that you can share with other people. But when you're still going through something, it's still really painful. I think you hurt yourself because you're sort of like, like opening a vein to give to other people. And I also think that you affect your healing process because you're trying to figure out how to make this thing okay for others or how to serve it up in a way that they can understand. And
the thing she's forgetting to say here on purpose is for money. She's not doing this as a public service announcement. She's not doing this as a, what do they call it? Like mercenary, or like she's going on a mission trip to heal everyone that's been divorced. She's doing this for profit. It's a capitalistic venture. So it goes out the window, like your healing and things and all that. Yeah, probably you should never share any of this shit with strangers for no reason. But the point that you're getting money for it is why you are quick to go and do it, because you have nothing else to talk about. Your money is your stories. That's why it's like she's ready to go. It's not to like, oh, help people faster. She needs to like support herself.
Instead of first processing how you're feeling yourself.
Yeah, I love that. I was reading your book on the airplane for my trip last week. First of all, your new book I read in one sitting. So everybody didn't see that coming. It's incredible. I read it in 3 hours, one sitting. Let's talk about Girl Stop Apologizing. You write about the history of women speaking publicly. I've heard you talk about yourself as a witch, which I love that you're like reappropriating or like just calling it out. Like, yeah, I'm a witch. Like, I just love that.
Does she mean bitch?
And just basically women have been burned and torched and silenced. And this is something I'm really interested in. I'm actually going to write a book about it with my husband soon. So talk about women speaking publicly. How do we, what's the history, how do we change it and get women speaking up?
It's so interesting, and there's so much history wrapped up in this, and so many scholars who are way more knowledgeable on the subject than I am. But I do find it fascinating. History is a passion of mine, and I find it fascinating how
her own life history is fascinating. She has never talked about history ever. She always says she's a history nerd when it comes to like a Tony Robbins speech or something. I'm like, where's the history in this? I don't know what history nerding you're doing.
Often women and their connection with power is ostracized, destroyed, taken over, killed, excommunicated, like you name it, throughout history. And when I'm saying power, I don't mean like witchy power. I mean having any sort of power, being able to use a voice, having money, having political resources. There was always this sort of disconnection or this attempt to disconnect women from their ability to like wield the same sort of weapons or resources that men had. And
agreed.
It's, I am a speaker. I do have conferences like I have today because 6 or 7 years ago, I went to a conference and had my life changed and thought it was so amazing. And for 3 full days.
Here comes the Tony Robbins, didn't see the point of this or the problematic part of this. She goes to the Tony Robbins conference and there's no women on stage. Instead of thinking, oh, this man is a misogynist. This man has a company where he thought it would be totally fine to accept payment from probably thousands of women and not think it's important to have women on his stage. No, that's not problematic. She takes it, I'm going to be the woman to start my own conference. Feminism.
Days, not one woman stepped on the stage. And I thought, man, this is crazy. 14,000 people in this audience, 3 days and nights, and not one woman. You couldn't find one woman.
He could. He chose not to.
Out of all of these speakers, and it like makes my head explode. And also it feels like such a disservice to an audience that was half filled with women, because I love a bro. I love a dude. I'm here for it. I'm raising 3 sons. Like I love men. I love hearing their perspective, but it is different for us. It is. We have a different worldview and we are coming with different information. And for me, I was at this conference trying to figure out how to change my life. And I was hearing from a white man in his late 60s who doesn't have kids, who isn't trying to figure out how to be a working mom, who's not navigating all of that.
He
And
does
so
have kids, but
when he
okay.
would be like, just go do it, like, just do it. And I would be like, I want to, but how do you figure out childcare? Like, you know,
How is that advice any different than what Rachel says? Rachel also says, just do it, ladies. The only difference is she puts sis at the end of it. Tony Robbins goes, just do it. And Rachel says, just do it, sis. Come on. It's the same message. And again, she's missing the point. Like, yes, Tony Robbins is not a great example of someone I want to follow as a woman. But then she goes and, you know, I hate to be crass, but like sucks his dick during interviews, you know, like, oh, I love you so much. Oh my God, tell me about your new book. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's like, that's the problem. Like, if you're going to stand up against him and against that type of stuff, and you're like, women need to have representation, let's do it. Feminism. Yeah. But when you support a man like that on your platform multiple times, that's where I go, you're full of shit.
we need women on stage. We need women using their voice, and we need them telling their stories. And I would even go one more further on that and say, like, okay, cool, I did it. I got on stage and I do the conference or whatever. Like, I'm one perspective. I am one perspective. I'm 38 years old. I'm a mom. I'm straight. I was raised Christian. I'm a white woman. Like, I am one freaking perspective. We need all of them. We need everybody on stage.
Agreed.
Because you need to sit in the audience at a conference and see yourself. Because if you can see yourself, if you see someone who looks like you or comes from the same background, that's going to make you believe that your voice matters and that you should also use it to put your story and your value.
Okay, but then also she knows that 99% of everyone who ever has bought a Rachel Hollis Rise ticket has been a woman. Yet she hires like half men. So I know I guess she's trying to like be inclusive, but I almost think it's, again, and this is like a hot take that I've made many times. Why is it okay for Tony Robbins to have only men and her to be disappointed in that? But then she can go have her conference where she's like, okay, all my audience is women, so I'm going to put men on stage. But the whole point is to see someone that you can relate to. It's like, I don't get it. Like, it's just like, I think she wants to be a guy's gal. She wants to be cool with that group and be invited on the trip to go, you know, to the men's only retreat. But I don't know why she does it that way. I don't know. Maybe she's doing the right thing and that's like more of like an equal ground. But I feel like if you're really catering to women, make an effort to make it all women. That's my take. I don't know if I'm right or wrong about that, but if they're doing it, might as well fucking match them.
Use and your insights out into the world.
Well, I know we only have a few more minutes, Rachel. I wish I could spend a whole year with you. Honestly,
great. We'll plan that. Well, 2022.
I'm going to attend one of your events. I want to go to an in-person event whenever the next one you have. Actually, before we
Austin's going to be in person, girl. Austin, we haven't announced it yet, but Austin's in person. If you want to go, we will make that happen for you.
My best friend in the whole world just moved to Dallas, and I said, Rachel's taking coaching clients in Austin.
Come on, May 14th, 15th, 16th. I'm not even kidding. Like, if you guys want to come, you should come and do that. Everybody in person is VIP. It's like, you got to have the test. We're socially distanced, but it's going to be amazing.
Oh my God.
Was it amazing?
Okay.
Yeah. We will make that happen for you if you want.
Again, we all wish we had so much more of your time. I'm so impressed with you. Thank you for being here. But before I let you go, we need to have a little fun because we've been going really deep and now we need to be light. Okay, this is the rapid fire round. Just say the first thing that comes to your mind, okay?
Oh,
ready? This is my favorite. Yep.
All right. If you had to go to an island and you could only bring one food and one drink, what would they be?
Tacos, margaritas,
LaCroix, and steak.
Oh,
what is your most embarrassing work moment?
Toiletgate.
Oh,
that didn't happen yet.
My most embarrassing work moment. I mean, I've definitely peed my pants jumping on stage 25 times. It's why I wear dark jeans when I'm on stage. I'm not even lying.
Okay, yeah. Having kids, I mean, and being a runner, like we can talk about that later.
Right.
She had that top of mind. She's like, oh, I didn't say pee my pants once yet in this interview. I better cram it at the end.
Right.
What's your greatest joy?
My children.
If you could have lunch with one person, dead or alive, who would it be?
Obama.
My brother.
Oh,
Who
that's
is
sad.
the greatest
Sorry.
band of all time?
Band?
The Beatles.
Fleetwood Mac.
If you had $1 billion,
bad at this.
what would you do with it first?
Take all the people I love most on the most insane, lavish vacation ever.
All right. Well, thank you for being here, Rachel. Where can people find out more about attending your awesome Rise event?
So you can go to, holy crap, I should know this. One second.
Sorry, I should have.
Right. No, I got it. So you can go to riseliveweekend.com. Riseliveweekend.com. We're doing a live event in Austin, but it's streaming worldwide. That is where you can go to find out more information.
And I just
think that website's down now.
apologize to you, the woman who wrote the book, Girl Stop Apologizing. So I'm going to go to that event and learn to stop apologizing.
Yes, for real. We would love to have you. It is so much fun.
All right, Rachel. Thank you for being here. All of you have been watching the Be Your Own Boss podcast. Until next time.
Wow, what a beast. I'm sorry, that was fucked up. I'm mean. I'm being mean. But she's a beast, so she can handle it. You guys, you don't know. I am fucking really crazy. Anyways.